Life isn't always black and white. It's often lived in the gray. For Lucas, a young man born into one of the most unforgiving corners of the city, survival meant walking that thin, precarious line. The streets weren't just where Lucas grew up. They were his school, his home, and his battlefield. In a neighborhood ruled by crime and desperation, Lucas's dreams of escaping felt like fragile glass, always at risk of shattering. Lucas's father, a factory worker, tried his best to instill discipline and values, but life in their part of the city didn't leave much room for hope. By the time Lucas turned 16, he was already running small errands for Victor's gang. At first, it was harmless, or at least, that's what Lucas told himself. Delivering packages, carrying messages, standing watch during late-night deals. These were just jobs. What harm could there be in that? But the truth was, every small task drew him deeper into the gang's world. Victor, the gang's leader, was a charismatic and ruthless man who had the neighborhood in a chokehold. People feared him, respected him, and in some twisted way, even admired him. Lucas was no different. Victor saw the potential in the young man, quick on his feet, sharp-witted, and eager to prove himself. Lucas quickly became a favorite, earning bigger responsibilities and more dangerous tasks. One night, Lucas was sent to collect money from an old diner owner named Henry. The man had fallen behind on his payments, and Victor wanted to make an example of him. Lucas walked into the diner, trying to look intimidating, but something about Henry's weary face made him pause. The old man refused to pay, standing firm despite the fear in his eyes. For the first time, Lucas felt a pang of guilt. He left the diner without forcing the issue, hoping Victor wouldn't notice. But Victor always noticed. When Lucas returned empty-handed, Victor was furious. He didn't just berate Lucas, he made an example of him, punishing him in front of the gang. Lucas learned a painful lesson that night. Loyalty wasn't optional, and defiance had consequences. Despite the pain and humiliation, Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't belong in this world. He began to question everything, the gang, his choices, and the life he was building. But questioning wasn't enough. The streets didn't forgive weakness, and Victor wasn't the kind of man you could walk away from. Things came to a head during a high-stakes heist. The target was a luxury jewelry store in the city center, a bold move even for Victor's gang. Lucas was reluctant but had no choice. The plan was simple: break in, grab what they could, and get out before the alarms triggered. But plans have a way of going wrong. The alarm went off earlier than expected, and the police arrived within minutes. Chaos erupted. Some of the gang members were ready to shoot their way out, but Lucas hesitated. Among the terrified hostages was a young woman named Claire, her eyes wide with fear. In that moment, Lucas made a choice that changed his life forever. Instead of fleeing or fighting, he shielded Claire from the gunfire. His crew abandoned him, and he was arrested, but Claire was unharmed. Lucas's arrest was all over the news. The media painted him as both a criminal and a hero, a young man who had done the wrong things for the right reasons. In court, Claire testified on his behalf, recounting how he had risked his life to protect her. The judge, moved by the story, gave Lucas a second chance, probation and community service instead of a lengthy prison sentence. During his community service, Lucas found himself working at a local youth center. At first, he kept to himself, doing the bare minimum to fulfill his sentence, but over time, he began to connect with the kids at the center, young boys and girls who reminded him of himself. Many of them were on the same dangerous path he had walked, and Lucas realized he had a chance to make a difference. One day, Claire visited him at the youth center. She hadn't forgotten the man who had saved her life, and she wanted to thank him properly. Their conversation was awkward at first, but it soon turned into a friendship. Claire encouraged Lucas to open up about his past, and her unwavering belief in his potential gave him a renewed sense of purpose. But the past doesn't let go easily. Victor hadn't forgotten Lucas's betrayal, and he wanted revenge. One night, Lucas found himself cornered by Victor and his men. They demanded repayment for the damage Lucas had caused by getting arrested and jeopardizing the gang's operations. It was clear they wouldn't stop until Lucas was back under their control, or worse. Lucas knew he couldn't run forever. He decided to confront Victor, but this time he wasn't alone. With Claire's support, he reached out to the police, offering to help bring Victor down in exchange for protection. It was a risky move, but Lucas was done living in fear. The operation to take down Victor's gang was dangerous, but it succeeded. Victor and his crew were arrested during a major drug deal, and Lucas was finally free from their shadow. With Victor gone, Lucas focused on rebuilding his life. He continued working at the youth center, eventually becoming a mentor and counselor. His story of redemption became an inspiration to others, proving that no matter how far you've fallen, there's always a way back. Today, Lucas is a symbol of hope in a city that once seemed hopeless. His journey from the depths of crime to the heights of redemption reminds us all that it's never too late to change. All it takes is one brave choice, one moment of courage to turn your life around. Lucas found his light. Will you find yours?